More American women than ever before will serve in the U.S. government, including the first Muslim Americans, the first Native Americans, and the youngest woman ever elected to Congress, 29-year-old Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York. 9 women have also won governor's races, but one of the most contentious and contested has yet to be called.
I'm here tonight to tell you votes remain to be counted.
Democratic candidate Stacey Abrams refused to concede the Georgia's governor race to Republican candidate Brian Kemp, saying it's too close to call and that there are absentee votes that still need to be counted. If elected, she would become the first African-American female governor in the history of the United States.
Democracy only works when we work for it, when we fight for it, when we demand it. And apparently today, when we stand in lines for hours to meet it at the ballot box, that's when democracy works.
Her campaign suggested a runoff is likely and that Kemp doesn't have the 50% plus one needed to win according to Georgia state law.
Supporters were here at the election campaign headquarters until the early morning hours, hoping to hear an election victory speech by Stacey Abrams. Instead, they trudged out on their way home to get some sleep, saying they were still hoping for a victory in the morning.
But Kemp remained confident on election night.
Victory is near.
On Sunday, President Donald Trump held a rally for Kemp at an airport hangar in Macon, Georgia.
Stacey Abrams is one of the most extreme, far-left politicians in the entire country. You know that.
Voters' rights have been a dominant theme in this race, with Democrats saying it's a conflict of interest to have Brian Kemp running in an election that he's also in charge of overseeing as Georgia's Secretary of State. Former U.S. President Jimmy Carter called it a conflict of interest and called for him to resign from the post well ahead of the elections. Former President Barack Obama held a campaign rally last week for Abrams at Morehouse, a historically black college in Atlanta.
It should not be a matter of partisan politics to say we don't target certain groups of people based on what they look like or how they pray or who they love.
I think win or lose, win I'm going to be very excited. Lose, I'm a little pessimistic about the future of the state of Georgia, especially for students, minorities, and everything that Stacey Abrams stood for.
Gerald Jordan and Christopher McCullough are students at Morehouse who also went to see Abrams on election night.
We just have to keep being motivated by what happened in this election. A lot of racism came out, a lot of discrimination at the polls actually, and so this just had to be motivation for us.
Some counties in the Atlanta area reported broken voting machines. These contributed to long waits at the polls that lasted for hours. Some polling places even had to extend their hours. And while it remains to be seen what will happen in Georgia, people are wondering if this historic election is a milestone for women's rights and questioning what impact will this representation in Congress mean for women in America. Courtney Kealy, TRT World, Atlanta, Georgia.